Wondering how AI infrastructure deployments will shape up next year? Our next guest lays out 5 questions that folks should be asking. Joining us now to discuss, we've got Antoine Chekabin, who is the New Street Research Technology Infrastructure Analyst. And we're not going to run through all 5 questions off the top, but what is the top question that people should be asking about AI in 2025?
Thanks a lot, Brian and Brad, for having me. I would say the top question is about AI scaling. We're now about to enter, the third year of the AI investment cycle that started in 2023. And as you know, a number of concerns that have emerged in recent months regarding the sustainability of AI scaling, or in other words, the ability to increase the performance of generative AI models by just throwing more compute at them. And on that front, well, I would say that the recent developments have clearly shown that, on the contrary, AI progress is very far from over. And is, if anything, accelerating. With the family of O models, so first O1 that was released in September and now O3, OpenAI has made a very significant leap forward towards AGI, with even the most demanding benchmarks acknowledging a genuine breakthrough in AI adaptability and generalization of generative AI models. So to put it simply, these models combine deep learning with the ability to create a new program when facing an unknown task. So in other words, the model likely develops a very large number of possible chains of thoughts to execute a task, organizes a tree of change steps, and evaluates which trajectory is best. So in some ways, this is actually analogous to what we humans do when we plan a sequence of steps to accomplish complex tasks. And so the performance of these models clearly shows that AI systems will be able to address at least human level and probably suprahuman level tasks in the next few years. And that, of course, is going to drive adoption and fuel continued very strong demand for AI infrastructure spending in coming years.
Antoine, every time one of our viewers or users hears AI, they immediately go right to Nvidia. Now, good thing for us, you do have coverage and you do follow Nvidia. Do you think the sell-off over the past month, Nvidia, is overdone based on the research you have done on AI infrastructure?
Yes, thanks for the follow-up. So I think it is overdone indeed, because as you know, I think that the key concern here that you're talking about is that even if you do believe that spending on AI infrastructure is going to go through the roof, some have voiced concerns regarding the ramp of ASICs. It's those in-house chip programs that hyperscalers have, potentially waiting on demand for Nvidia GPUs. But what I would say here is that reality is that only 1 or 2 companies maybe have successfully deployed AI ASICs at scale today. That is, of course, Google with the TPU and Amazon with like a number of inferential and Trainium chips. But by definition, ASICs are application specific, which means they trade off flexibility for performance. And on top of that, they like an ecosystem. As you know, Nvidia has a very strong ecosystem, not just the CUDA software stack, but people know how to use their chips. Today, if you go on Hugging Face and you download a model, you can run it very, very quickly on an Nvidia chip. It takes you much longer if you want to do that on ASICs. And so the result here is that we estimate that even Google, who has that in-house program ramped at scale, still spends more on GPUs today than ASICs. So GPUs remain dominant for public cloud, pretty heavy workloads and workloads that require high programmability. And so we do expect NVIDIA to remain dominant even if these in-house programs ramp. So we do think that, as I mentioned earlier, on one hand, you have AI infrastructure spending that is going through the roof. On the other hand, you have NVIDIA that is going to remain dominant in AI infrastructure. So we do think that this sell-off is definitely overdone.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Hugging Face. We've had their CEO and founder, Clem Delong, on a few times here on Yahoo Finance, kind enough to give us some of his time. So good to hear him. And of course, the team that is putting the work out there really get recognized here. You think about some of the other, the spread of where investors can be looking at the AI theme more broadly and anticipate for there to be deeper value. Is it within the applications that are built out by existing social media companies? Is it by the agents that we hear some of the largest cloud companies talking about? What is that next shoe to really get worn in by some of the investors here?
So, as you know, the space we cover is specifically infrastructure. But so what I would say on that front is that we're moving from 100,000 chips today in the largest clusters to 1 million chips. That's around the corner. And as I mentioned, like these AI scaling laws increasing that are still completely valid increase our level of conviction that we're going to go there. But another angle that you can take to increase your level of conviction is simply look at the plans of the usual suspects. First, you have like a handful of companies that are reportedly planning to roll out clusters of 1 million chips in 2027. Second, you have OpenAI, who is reportedly planning to increase the amount of money it spends on training compute by an order of magnitude by the end of the decade. So if you're moving from 100,000 chips to 1 million chips, well, on the AI infrastructure front, what I would say, of course, you have Nvidia, as we discussed earlier, but you also have Broadcom, which is the company that is leading today in ASICs and also in networking to interconnect this 1 million cluster with very, very dense networking to make it act as a single computer so that we can train these very, very large models, these very complex models with the chain of thought capabilities that we discussed earlier. So I would say Nvidia, Broadcom. Of course, you have AMD as well. That's very well positioned. The only alternative to Nvidia for GPUs, they don't sell. So you have Broadcom in ASICs, you have Nvidia in GPUs. AMD sells also GPUs. It's very hard to design a GPU, to design a chip that's as flexible as a GPU. And AMD is the only alternative to Nvidia there. And then I would say in the broader like tech infrastructure landscape, you have, of course, memory. We like Micron. You have TSMC. And of course, I mean, there are dozens of names, but those are the ones that I would say we prefer in the tech infrastructure space.
New Street Research Technology Infrastructure Analyst Antoine Chekaiban. Good to see you. Happy holidays. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.